Hey, welcome. This is Rhiannon, and this is my channel, Freedom Over 40. So, thank you for being here today. Just to stop by and very briefly discuss 10 common signs that most women experience whilst going through menopause. And this can actually be perimenopause as well. So, when you go into the actual stage of menopause, and majority of these I have definitely experienced myself on a regular basis. See what you think. Do any of these relate to you? Number one, hot flushes or flashes, as they called in the States and other countries. So, this is where you get a random intense heat that is just so overpowering. It feels like your whole face and body is on fire, and it's so uncomfortable. You could be standing in the queue ready to pay your shopping. You could be on a Zoom call with business or work. You could be doing various things and it will just come on out of nowhere. You could even just be sitting there watching TV. It really doesn't matter. The point is, this intense heat will just come on randomly, and you just think to yourself, what the heck? And you just want to cool down. You just want to get your clothes off, jump in the cool shower, and just try and cool down as quickly as possible because the heat is just too much. It's way too much, and it's so uncomfortable. So that's number one. Number two leads on from this one, night sweats. How many of you go to bed at night, can't cope with a blanket on, your blanket's off, your blanket's on, your blanket's off, or you've got a bit of blanket going across your midsection, but your arms and your feet are sticking out? That's me normally. And I don't actually have a quilt, even in the winter time. I generally don't use a quilt. I'll just use a sheet, or I might use two sheets. That's basically me, but I still have the fan on. So at night, a lot of women basically always talk about the fact that they could wake up after being in a deep sleep, whatever, if they manage to sleep, luckily enough, where they'll just wake up and they are absolutely soaking in sweat. They are drenched. You would have thought they've just run a marathon or something. That's how wet they are from sweating. And I haven't really experienced too much of that. Occasionally, yes, but touch wood, I really haven't had too many of these night sweats so far. So let's see what happens, hey? But I would not wish that upon anyone because that in itself is also not a nice experience to have. And yeah, the amount of bed clothing and pajamas and nighties and things that you would go through as well, because obviously once you're sweating and you're soaking wet, you straight away have to strip the bed. You have to then strip obviously what you're wearing, put that in the wash. So your washing can certainly go up as well as a result of that. Number three, do you get mood swings? Now, I'm not really someone who gets mood swings. The only thing I would say, and this is, I think, a general thing, I think as you get older, you're less tolerant to BS. So I think through experience in life, work, and other, I think you can suss out those that are not telling the truth or are trying to pull the wool over your eyes, shall we say. So my views of people who are trying to be silly, shall we say, and think they can fool me is a big no-no because I'll just see straight through you. But I wouldn't call that a mood. I just think I'm just less tolerant in general. I just don't have tolerance for fake people. I'm not interested. It's just not for me. Thank you. But there's a lot of people that can be very up and down with their moods. They can be very just fly off the handle, and nobody ever saw that coming. Now, I have experienced being with people like that in a work environment, and it's not pleasant at all. Um, Emotional, some people can get quite like, emotional. They can cry randomly, like something is just back and they just burst into tears. I have had some emotion like that, more so when I was on a progesterone. My doctor did prescribe that for me, my GP, where I had to take it for 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And that just made me really unwell with my anxiety. And that made me quite emotional at that time. But I'm no longer on that tablet anymore, because it was just not right for me. I couldn't adjust to it. It just made me so unwell. But emotions, I'm not too bad really. So say I'm not generally a moody person. I just don't tolerate people who I think are just not for me. I'd rather stay away and keep a distance. That's generally how I am. And I don't want to be rude. It's just, yeah, less tolerant. That's all I can say. That's the polite version. Number four, brain fog. Now, this is a biggie for me. I cannot stand the brain fog. I hate not being able to think of random things that I have known all my life, objects, random things that I've always used since I was a toddler, like a knife and fork. I cannot remember the word fork. It's a word that I don't know why, but I could not remember it at one point. And I was actually in the kitchen and I just made some tea, just cooked some tea. And I just wanted to get the cutlery out to go on, on my tray with my plate of food. And I said to my other half, I said, "Can you pass me that thing?" And he's like, "What are you on about, thing? That there." And I just could not think of the word fork. And he looked at me and he was like, "I'm losing the plot." And I said, "I can't help it. Sometimes, like, the word association, it just goes. I cannot think of the word." And you end up calling it something similar to describe the item, but the word just does not appear. So I do find that I experience brain fog. I could be full on in the conversation, talking about something that I've done, or I could be in work talking about a case or something, and halfway through the case, bang, gone, just mind blank, cannot think of what it was I was just talking about. Or the most frustrating thing for me more so is, and I know this can't be helped, but it's just frustrating for me, where I am in the middle of a conversation. It could be about absolutely anything, but if somebody was to interrupt that conversation, or the phone would ring or something, 9 times out of 10, I cannot remember my train of thought afterwards. I can't remember what I was just talking about. And I was just about to get to like a valid point on something or whatever it was at the time. And I just can't remember. And it's so frustrating because I know I had to speak about that, whatever it was. That's one thing that I really struggle with. What about you? Do you get brain fog? Do you have trouble remembering things? I am old school. I write things down. I have to set alarms on my mobile phone to remind me, go to the chemist after work. Don't basically, it means for me that I turn a completely different direction. Instead of driving home after I finish work, I would then instead go in a different direction to go to the chemist, to pick up my prescription, for example. But I have to set reminders because otherwise I will just be in the same, cycle of routine, really, isn't it? That I would just jump in my car and go. And I would forget then to go and pick up my medication. So that's what I do anyway to try and help combat that. The other thing I will say as well, I am old school with a diary. Yes, I have a calendar on my phone and it's okay, but I really like having a diary. I like to physically have something tangible that I can hold and I can actually refer to. And I can actually I feel for me, actual writing it down helps to remember things as well more. Whereas just typing like a brief synopsis of something into a calendar or a little sentence doesn't quite do it for me. They're great in enough in a general speaking, but overall for me it's got to be an actual diary as well, to diarize events and trainings. And like I got an event coming up now next month in London, so I know I'm going to be away 24 hours out of Wales, up in London, and I got a very busy 24 hours up there. But I've already written down reference numbers for bookings and for all sorts of things, using the train and all sorts of things. So for me, that's what I use my diary for. And obviously my holidays, because I love my holidays. I think you've noticed that by now, if you've been following me, that is. Number 5, irregular periods. Now, this isn't something I suffer with or have an issue with periods, because I don't get periods anymore. I last had a period in May, which was a random period, yes, and it lasted the full 7 days, which was normal for me, and it was a normal period, which was quite heavy. But prior to that, I hadn't had a period for about a year and a half, nearly. So I think my body, it seems to be getting to that stage now where they are or have now completely stopped, or it's certainly going in that direction. So do you experience irregular periods? Do they come on randomly, or do they come on maybe not every 28 days, but they come on once every couple of months? Fatigue is another one. Tiredness. Oh my gosh, I really struggle with fatigue. I am so tired all the time. It drives me nuts. So, if you have any tips on combating tiredness, please let me know, because I quite happily would turn over and just go to sleep right now. Just motivating myself just to get up and do this filming has really taken something today, because I really, really just want to turn over and just catch up on the sofa and that would be me for the day. So anything you can talk about or suggest about fatigue and tiredness, please let me know, and this community can all share together. Thank you. Next one, weight gain, which is number 7. Now, I have gained weight. It's mainly around the midsection. This is because you have less estrogen. You got cortisol levels as well, possibly from stress built up. Your body now has slowed down with its metabolism. You're not as active anymore, maybe because of your job situation or your life situation. But you definitely will, or I certainly have experienced weight gain, and I find it harder to lose weight no matter how hard I try. So that's number 7. Number 8 is sleep problems. You're so exhausted through the day. By the time you get to sleep or go to bed in the night time to go to sleep, you will then find either you can't get to sleep or you will fall asleep and then you'll wake up within an hour or two, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe a bit later on, depending on what time you go to sleep. And then you're wide awake and you're like, you got to get up early for work or whatever you got to do that day, and you got to sleep, but you can't. And that's the most frustrating bit about it, is irregular sleep patterns. Not getting a full decent 7 or 8 hour sleep is what I really miss having. Number 9, low libido. So your sex drive. I haven't really experienced any problems with my sex drive, but a lot of women basically just become uninterested. They really are not bothered anymore about having the physical contact with someone. A lot of women just basically can't be bothered. And I think that's a lot down to the fact as well, is that you're so tired, you don't sleep anymore, don't sleep properly, you're constantly exhausted, therefore you don't feel good in yourself, you don't have the energy to want to be with someone and be active in that way physically. So I think that's why I think a lot of women do feel less in the mood, shall we say, whereas, as I say, so far so good, I've been okay. And number 10, anxiety. The jittery, uneasy feeling that you can get, the butterfly, the knot in your stomach, the uncertainty about things, the anxiety can be a nightmare. It can be quite crippling, in fact, and it can make you feel almost like you want to be a recluse, because I think the thought of actually having to be outside and to deal with people, this just over anxiety, this anxious feeling of, oh my God, and you're worrying about things, your mind starts doing overdrive. Or sometimes you'll just have anxiety come on and you don't even know why. You just feel anxious and you can't explain it. So have any of these top 10 sort of experiences, well-known experiences that women basically suffer with and go through with menopause, are any of these resident with you? Have you experienced any, and what ones stand out to you?